Stardust Solar is a North American and global franchisor of residential and commercial solar and renewable energy installation services. CEO Mark Tadros is here telling us about the company's just announced new 30 megawatt utility scale solar project in Zambia, and as well as providing us an outlook on 2026 business. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. Please remember this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Mark, welcome and congratulations on this big Zambia project. That was not something I had in the cards expected. That's a bit out of the blue, and congratulations.
Thanks again for having me. Always a pleasure to do these interviews with you. And yes, some very exciting news coming out of Stardust Solar Energy. We recently just signed a PPA, power purchase agreement, with ZESCO, the utility, the government utility in Zambia. So Stardust Solar Zambia will be building a utility scale solar power plant in Zambia this year and 30 megawatts of scale. To give the listeners an idea, that's 45,000 solar panels that we'll be installing and producing energy for the Zambian government. And we also have a payment guarantee on 7 cents USD per kilowatt hour produced by this solar power plant. And that pays out over the next 20 years.
Okay, so you're for every kilowatt hour, you'll be getting 7 cents USD over the next 20 years, or essentially the kind of the 20 years of the life of the project there.
Correct. And the math works out to, this project will probably take us about a year or two to fully build. The good news is we'll start getting paid as soon as we start producing energy, even once the first megawatt is installed. But to give you an idea of the scope of this project, it's roughly 60 to 90 million USD over the next 20 years. So it's a great win for our company. And it also reinforces our royalty-based business model that's been developing now for a few years.
Are you responsible for like the capital to build out the project, or is that with your Zambian partner, or how is this going to get funded?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you are correct. So Stardust Solar Energy, the public company, will be funding the project. We will be loaning the money to the Zambian franchise, who will then actually be the boots on the ground building out the solar power plant. In exchange, we'll be recouping those funds plus interest, and then ultimately, based on us funding the project and also providing the engineering. So head office at Stardust will be developing the plans, doing all of the engineering for the construction. In exchange for our loans and our services, we'll be recouping 50% royalty of all the energy that's produced over the next 20 years from this project.
And as well, you're saying getting repaid for the capital that you front the with interest.
That's correct. So it is built as a loan structure. We'll be recouping that. And then again, just to clarify for your listeners, the 7 cents USD is the projected revenue per kilowatt hour on the entire scope of the 30 megawatts. However, Stardust will be entitled to half of that as a royalty in perpetuity for 20 years after we've recouped our loan money. It's a great deal for our company.
Okay, so that's 7 cents royalty. You get half of that, so 3.5 cents of that.
Correct. And the local franchise, the Zambian Stardust Solar Zambia, will get their 3.5 cents, minus, fees and royalties that they still have to pay back to us based on our franchise agreements.
So, and I presume they only get that after they've paid you back the capital to build out the project.
Correct. We've put together an aggressive payback schedule that ensures that the early revenues coming from electricity in Zambia are going to pay back the loans, pay back the fees, the interest. And then once that's paid back within a few years, we'll then be splitting the revenues on the energy, and they'll still owe us, their royalties and other fees that are part of the franchise agreement.
And roughly, what is a CapEx, or how much is the build out going to cost?
Yeah, so phase one, we're looking at roughly $2 million to get the project launched. that should be able to bring to life 2.5 or 2 megawatts of energy or energy production. The
Yeah.
entire 30 megawatts will probably cost us over the next 2 years, I would say 15 million, maybe 20 million in investment or in loan capital expenditure, I would say.
All right. And where are you going to raise that money from to? Are you going to take on debt then to fund that project or?
So there's a lot of opportunity ahead of us. And as you know, our company is moving into profitability. So we're actually going to have some liquid cash that we're going to be able to put into this project to get the wheels turning. But there is likely going to be a convertible debenture at some time in the future where we'll allow our investors to participate in those loans and ultimately convert at a higher share price than we're trading at today.
Are you looking at potentially doing a straight equity issue at some point?
Not at this time.
Okay.
We've done a few of those last year. And again, it's going to be dependent on the stock price. So it's hard for me to forecast exactly what will happen in the next, quarter or two. But the
Yeah.
idea here is we will get the project started with our own internal funds, and then we'll turn around and do a convertible debenture to give some assurance to our investors that, Stardust will guarantee those loans for the project and ultimately have the ability to convert to equity if the stock price is right.
For investors looking out into the coming year, what kind of milestones regarding this project? PPAs are often one of the big ones on a solar development project, so that one's checked off, which is great. What are
Yep.
the other ones we should be looking out for to see that the how the project is progressing?
So the first milestone is going to be coming in February, I would say. I'll be traveling with my COO and my VP of Finance to Zambia. We'll be doing a groundbreaking event there where we'll be on site. We'll meet the officials at the utility, and we'll, put the shovels in the ground, do a photo op to get that project launched. So I would say by the end of February or early March, you should see that. And then the second milestone is once we start producing energy. Again, it's hard for me to estimate timelines, but I'd say at some point this summer, that entire utility scale project will come online and we'll be able to show revenues in our financial statements from the electricity produced. Probably midsummer, late summer, we'll see that happen.
Not the entire project, just the first phase of it, the first couple megawatts, correct?
Correct, correct. And
Yeah.
it's important to know with these projects, it's like everything else, right? The first phase of the project is usually the most difficult. There's a lot of engineering, planning, logistics, equipment, setup that needs to be done. But these projects come to life quickly once you start rolling. So, my
Yeah.
hope is we have the first 2 megawatts installed, producing energy, let's just say by the end of the summer. And then 18 months after that, we'll have the full 30 megawatts completed and meeting our contractual obligations.
And then as you put on a chunk of them, you flip the switch. And so every month or a couple of months, a new level of royalties is going to kick in, and every month or two, revenues from that project will increase.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we do have a letter from the utility and from the Zambian government, basically reinforcing that as soon as we start producing energy and incrementally as we grow the energy production, we will get paid for that incremental energy.
And I don't know a whole lot about Zambia. Can
Sure.
you give us a bit of a background? Is it a pretty stable country? People are sometimes some parts of Africa are great, other parts are a little dodgier, let's say.
Sure.
How's Zambia doing?
Yeah, it's great. It's actually one of the most, secure and I would say safe countries in Africa. And I don't know what this is worth, but even if you go and check travel advisories, multiple countries in Africa have cautions on them. But Transport Canada deems Zambia a standard travel country. Absolutely no risk there from a safety standpoint.
All right. Well, that's a great way to start the
Yeah.
the year off. In terms of the rest of the business, you've had a few other. You've got a lot of business going on here in North America as well. Some new growth opportunities in Canada. You had said you announced some BC Hydro, and as well, you've got a new. I guess falls under your royalty model. A new Gizmo. You will be selling that help you users out as well as generate some ongoing revenue. Anyways, can you give us a bit of outlook on 2026 and what you see happening in your various markets?
Sure. Yeah, no, happy to do so. And We plan to finish 2025, not to give too much exact detail, but somewhere between 4.85 million will be the IFRS total for 2025. 2027, we're expecting another growth year. We've been growing at a steady rate of 40% year over year for the last 5 years, and we expect that trend to continue. So we're looking at about 7 million in revenue for 2026 with a positive bottom line. It's really one of my ultimate goals is to have this company have a year-end EBITDA on it, and that's the light forecast for 2026. Now, the most important thing, the most important message that I want to talk about is diversified solar royalties. It's a new term you're going to hear a lot from Sun. We've discovered that all the arms of our business are producing reoccurring revenue or some form of royalty long term. And so our messaging towards investor bases is going to be talking about these diversified solar royalties we'll be producing. The first is the big announcement that we're doing today about Zambia and the power purchase agreement that will essentially pay us royalties for the next 20 years. And we've covered that. But another announcement that we had last week was the development of Stardroid. So this is a partnership we did with a company out of Estonia, which was sponsored by the EU, a great company there, technology company called Mark E Droid. And they've given us exclusive rights to resell their device, which is AI-based in technology throughout North America. So we rebranded it. It's now going to be known as Stardroid in Canada and the US. And what this device ultimately does is it optimizes a homeowner's or a business owner's solar array and energy storage. To simplify it, it's like installing an AI brain for your solar array and energy storage, and it'll manage your energy. And more importantly, it'll day trade your energy with the utility to optimize when electricity is really expensive, it'll sell energy, or when electricity is really cheap, it'll draw energy. Ultimately, it's an AI-based device, Stardroid, that'll be plugged in to any existing installations and now day trade the electricity for that business owner, homeowner. So how does this work for Stardust? Well, again, it reinforces this diversified solar royalty model that we're bringing forward. Stardust has captured 25% of the revenue on the subscription of the device. So if a homeowner has a solar array with energy storage, Martin, that's good for 25 years, and they install this device and the subscription is $20 a month for that 25 years, Stardust will get $5 of that monthly payment. Now, of course, you install 100 devices, it's not that interesting, but we put this in 10,000 or 20,000 homes over the next 2 or 3 years, it becomes a very attractive long-term royalty for the company that, again, is very high margin in nature.
Obviously, I would presume you're going to be marketing through this through your own franchisor network. Is there an opportunity to do it outside of the Stardust network, or do you want to keep that in as a differentiating factor, or expand the market by, I don't know if you can sell it at Costco or wherever else, but through other solar the solar infrastructure?
Thank you for that question. It's exactly where I was going next. And yes, of course, our franchise network is the natural place to deploy the item. We'll be doing that, but we can also sell it through distributors. Really, what it comes down to is anybody that has a solar array with energy storage, whether it's commercial or residential, will be able to benefit from this device. And of course, with our buying power across our network, we know all the largest importers, distributors, wholesalers of solar and battery equipment in North America. So we'll be approaching them, offering them a great deal to now distribute Stardroid to all of their clients. And we hope that path brings us to scale quickly on this device.
And when does that start kicking in? When are you have you made sales of that already, or when does that start kicking in?
Yeah, so it's a brand new deal. We just announced it last week.
Yeah.
I estimate that we'll get the first device installed Device is installed in Q1, and we'll see it ramp up probably in Q2 as the entire industry comes to life. But again, just to be really clear to your listeners, this will really have an impact on our financial statements 2 years out, 3 years out as we take it to scale. But it is
Yeah.
just a really exciting piece that reinforces our diversified solar royalty play. It's the same kind of model where we have long-term reoccurring revenues on that homeowner energy this time.
All
So
right.
continuing with that thought that I had started about, the four different arms of our business that all fall into royalties, there's also our classic franchise model, which again is the backbone of our business. Nothing is changing there. We're expecting growth in our franchise model. We finished the year around 102 franchise territories sold, and we're expecting to add 25 to 50 new franchise territories in 2026. And those, as everybody knows, produce a 5% royalty in perpetuity on all the revenues produced through the franchise system. So that's the third arm of our royalty-based business. And then the final is our training and education department, which the people who know our story know that was the genesis of our company. It's where it began. But we've also found a way to turn that into a long-term royalty or subscription-based model. So what we've done with our training is we've reduced the amount of in-person training we've done. We've leveraged our LMS platform and moved everything online, and will now be offering all of our curriculums for free to our subscribers. We have over 2,500 people that have been trained through the Stardust model. And now all of these trainees will be able to pay $99 or $199 for a premium subscription and have access to all of our training materials and keep their certifications up to date. This will allow us to reduce expenses in the department, give us long-term reoccurring revenue or some type of a royalty, you could call it, on the training model, and also make it very profitable, which ultimately leads to the ultimate goal, which is producing EBITDA at the end of 2026. So very excited about the changes coming in the training department. And the last note I'll give you about training is historically we've been hosting all of our trainings in our multiple offices across North America, and the trainers have been Stardust employees or contractors. We're now going to be offering a licensing agreement to independent contractors that want to teach our material and use our publicly traded brand. So again, we're moving towards a licensing deal in the training department that offers an initial fee upfront, $25,000 to buy a license, and a reoccurring licensing fee on an annual basis for a 10-year term. So our entire model, I'm really excited about, is still the same fundamentals, nuts and bolts, but we're moving our messaging towards a diversified solar royalty business.
So the training is going to turn into a franchise model as well. So I'm a trainer, I buy my kind of franchise, I get all the materials from you, and then I can sell the training packages to whoever wants to get trained and that.
Okay, so theory correct, but
Oh,
terminology is not. So we can't use
okay.
the word franchise on this part of the model. It's a licensing agreement, and it's just a
Okay.
regulatory thing. You're correct on how the model will work. Initial fee up front. They get all access to our curriculums, and we're going to train them and teach them how to train. They get to wear the brand, and there'll be, Stardust Solar training in Mississippi or wherever you have it. And there'll be a reoccurring fee on an annual basis for them to get our updated materials. We just can't use the term franchising. It's a regulatory thing.
All right.
Now, our installers are regulatory bound as a franchise. This is a
Yes.
licensing agreement of our proprietary training materials.
And they're all essentially high margin royalty parts of a business, and that are tend to be recurring in nature, which are, I don't know, recurring and high margin. That's all. That's good stuff.
Yeah, thank you for that. And thank you for highlighting that. That's exactly the model we want to put forward. I think it'll give a lot of confidence to investors. And it's really nothing different than what we've been doing. It's just the way we're messaging it. But yes, our entire model is now being presented as a reoccurring revenue model built on four legs of the business that offer royalties in perpetuity.
We've covered a lot here. Is there anything else we should cover before we wrap it up?
I think we did a really good job of talking about diversified solar royalties and, our Zambia project is exciting. The Stardroid device is a new piece of technology. The advancements in our training department and the growth of our classic franchise model. These are all really optimistic things that our investors could look for. I think the only thing we didn't really touch on is the growth in commercial contracts. So at the end of last year, we talked a little bit about these commercial scale projects that we're bringing on board. And we're negotiating right now a large volume of commercial contracts for our franchisees. So not only are we planning to add more franchisees, our existing base of franchisees are now mature enough, 3 or 5 years into the system to handle these commercial projects. And that again should ultimately increase royalties, but increase the amount of equipment we're selling into our franchise network. So watch for a lot of commercial projects to be announced in 2026 in our franchise network.
All right. So initially they were residential home installations, and now they're sort of
Yeah.
stepping up to the next size up, which is commercial. Put a solar panel on some factory or warehouse roof, things like that.
Exactly right. And we're
Okay.
still heavily involved in the residential business. And we're not fading that in any way. That's where all the high margins are in solar. But you're right. After 3 years of being in our system and getting experience under their belt, they're now, I would say, 10 or 15 of our really good franchises that have the expertise and experience to handle the commercial scale projects. What it'll do is it'll just continue to increase the backlog of projects that we have, and it'll increase
Yeah.
the value of the system-wide sales at Stardust Solar Energy.
Mark, in your franchise market, you have a lot, or you started growing the US side of your business. A lot of changes have happened in the US this year, and the solar market has been hit in the longer term. But conversely, as some tax incentives expired this year, there was a big push on people getting capturing those tax incentives this year, which kind of gave a boost to the U.S. market this year, as well could be a drop off on the U.S. side in 2026. How big of an impact do you see that affecting you?
Yeah, so very good point, and it's a very real concern. We're definitely expecting a little bit of a pullback on the U.S. market just based on what's happened, politically and the incentives being peeled away. So we do expect that. However, we still expect growth in 2026. This is the nice thing for our investors. Because we're diversified across the solar industry, we have, four different arms of our business that can generate revenues. My anticipation, my hope, my outlook is that the other arms of the business will grow significantly enough that even though our US operations might pull back a bit, we'll still be able to overcome that and produce our 40% year over year growth. And then the last note I would put there is, we recently opened a franchise in the Caribbean that we're developing. I'll be there, at the end of this week, talking to our franchisee, doing an investor conference, growing our footprint in the Caribbean. And also, as we talked about earlier in the meeting, our development in Zambia. We also have interest from someone in Nicaragua for a franchise. So what I'm trying to get at here is, although there may be a little bit of a pullback on the US market temporarily, we do have other arms of the business that will help overcome that. And we're going global, we're going international, and there's a ton of opportunity for solar across the world that we can supplement our revenues with.
Mark, I guess with that, we've covered all the topics, and thank you very much. That's an exciting way to start the new year. Looking forward to further updates. Thank you very much, and talk to you again soon.
Great. Thanks so much, Martin. Always appreciate it.